don't know if anybody saw my previous video, but in that I showed you how to install daytime running lights to the front headlights, and at the same time I installed these chasing indicator lights to the front and the rear. After I finished it, I was really pleased with the job. However, I did think that the rear lights didn't look quite as nice as the front lights. The front lights are a lot more modern looking than these ones. So I sourced online a second-hand pair of the Lexus style lights, which I've now installed over on this side. And obviously it's down to personal taste. I'm sure some people prefer the originals, but I actually really like these Lexus style ones, still fitted with the chasing indicators. So I'm just going to show you now how I changed over from the originals to the Lexus style. So hope you enjoy the rest of the video. So the second-hand lights have arrived now. You see they've come with all the bulbs and connectors and wiring loom. When I bought them, I was aware, and it was advertised, that the lugs where the screws, the nuts and bolts that fix it to the car, that some of the lugs had actually snapped off. I wasn't too worried about that. I thought I'd just get some threaded bolts of the same size, cut off the head and epoxy resin it in. Having seen these bits of plastic here, they do look a little bit flimsy. Now I've seen it done on the internet where they put a big blob of fiberglass around here. Now I didn't want to do that because I just thought it'd look a bit messy. I was just going to try and do a discreet little blob with epoxy resin to fix it in. But at the moment the jury's out on that. I think I might end up putting some fiberglass in just to feel confident that they won't come out again. The lenses are in pretty good condition as described. I am going to have a go at just cleaning them up a bit. Because they are second-hand lenses, I don't want to spend a fortune on a specialised cleaning kit. But I've seen online a lot of people talk about doing it with toothpaste. So I'm just going to give it a go with a bit of toothpaste, see if I can just give it a bit of a polish before I put them on. One advantage of these when it goes back in is I still intend to do the indicators that chase across the top of the lights as I've got on the current car. Well, obviously now we've got a nice clear wiring loom, and we can just literally cut into this and solder in the new lights. So it'll be a really nice secure job and nice and easy. It can be done out of the car in advance. So I'm going to give these a clean up now. Then, as I say, I'll work out a way of putting the new lugs into here. Not 100% certain which route I'll take yet, but I'll have a play with it and see which is best, and I'll video it as I do it. So there we go. Just going to have a go at cleaning this with the toothpaste, as I mentioned. I'll only video a bit of this. I won't make you sit and watch hours of me polishing a lens with toothpaste, but I just thought it might be worth showing the initial few wipes. What I'm going to do is just put on a little bit of water, just a smear, and then literally whack on some toothpaste and see what happens. Just feels like a cutting compound really. I suppose you could do a similar thing with T-cut or any cutting compound. I'm just going to work it in for a good while. As I say, I'll probably fast forward through this part, and I'll see you in a little while. Well, I've only been doing this for a couple of minutes, I've got to say, and there's a marked difference in the lens. I don't know what it'd do if there was deep scratches in it, whether it'd have any effect at all, maybe not. But just definitely for a bit of a polish, definitely seems to have brought it up a lot better. It just feels smooth. I can feel it. There's none of that gritty, sandpapery feel to the lens at all. So I think it's probably just worth it. Whether it makes a lot of difference, it's down to choice, I guess. You know, if you can be bothered to do it, have a go. It's not necessary, but pretty simple to do. Definitely do it off the car if you can. I can only imagine doing this on the car. You know, you're going to perhaps scratch your paint work. If it's got enough of a cutting compound in it to polish out the lens, it's equally going to take a bit of shine off your paint. So I think it's probably wise doing it off the car. So yeah, and what I've decided to do actually, I'm going to get all the toothpaste off now, and the water that's coming off is quite dirty actually, so I think it has been worth doing. I'm going to get all this off now, get this nice and dry, and then I'm going to have a go putting a little bit of car polish on it, just some triple wax car polish, and just see how it looks after that. Like I say, I've watched a couple of videos and some people say, oh, put some car polish on after, others don't, so I just thought I'd give it a go. So I don't think there's any hard and fast rules on what works on this and that. I'm sure there's not. If you've got the Colgate web page up to have a look, I don't think they'd give any guidance on how to use it to clean lenses on a car, but definitely has had, yeah, positive effect. Really good. Okay, I've got all the toothpaste and water off now, and I've got to say it already looks brighter, looks quite good. I'm just going to put a bit of car polish on it and see if it has any final benefits. I'm not going to go over the top, just a little bit on. There we go. Spot on the rag. I think the rag was that dry to absorb 90% of that. There we are. Leave that for a couple of seconds to dry. It's a nice warm sunny day, it's going to dry very quickly. I'm just going to buff that up. Okay, let's see how it buffs. Yeah, very nice. Wow, that's made a real marked difference to it. Definitely worth putting the polish on. And you find a little bits of scratching on the lens, just sort of blended in. So yeah, I'm pretty chuffed with that, I've got to say. Looks pretty good. Okay, well, I'm going to do the other one, and then once they're both done, I'll work out a way of fitting the new lug. Perhaps I should have fitted the lugs first before I'm going to put this face down, but I'll put a cloth under it when I fit the lug, so it's sitting on the cloth. Yeah, really chuffed with that actually. It's well worth 5 minutes of your time. I've started now the refurbishment process on the lights. I did talk about perhaps using some epoxy resin or some sort of filler in here, and I'll be honest with you, I did the first side and built it up and got a lovely good solid hole for this piece to screw into. I screwed the existing lug, which I took off the previous lights, in, and then discovered that this is a different height to on the lights that were there before. So then when you put it all back together, the whole thing sat proud of the car by about 1/8 of an inch. So I've decided to scrap that idea. So what I've actually done, I found some just ordinary bolts. I just sawed through the top of the head, so the head comes off, and we've just got some little studs then. Then what I did was drilled out as far into there as I could safely do without actually going through into the body of the light, and I've created 3 studs that fit in like so. Okay. Now these two have got quite a nice bit of hole to go into, so I'll just put a bit of epoxy in there and that'll fit really well, nice and snug. This one, as you can probably, I don't know if you can see, quite a lot of the plastic had already broken off. I managed to keep a piece of the plastic, which I'm going to just work back in to give it a bit of strength once the epoxy resin is all in there. So that's my plan. I'm just going to make up some resin now, and we'll see how it goes. This is just one where you mix 50-50 of resin and hardener. So I'll put a couple of blobs in there, and then just been using a little cotton bud to mix them together. Just take a couple of seconds to mix this in. I think the refurbishing the lights I've tried to break down into sections. I'm going to get the lugs done first, which is obviously what I'm doing now, and then I'm going to solder in the chasing lights into the actual wiring loom and sort those out, and then I'll actually fit it all together last. It just seemed the best way of breaking it down into simple stages. So there you are, I'll just put a bit of the epoxy resin actually into the hole, and now I'll just screw that in gently, and that should hold. That should hold, simple as that. And this one's going to be a very similar process. What I might do is build a bit of resin up around the outside, do perhaps 2 coats of resin just to give them something to hold on to. And that one's in as well. Now this one's going to be a bit different obviously because a lot of the case is missing. I'm just going to work some resin in. Hopefully you can see that there. And just work some of the resin in. And now I'm going to pop that on there in the hole. And put a bit more resin on the outside of the screw. Now something to be mindful of here is, of course, you don't want to get resin too far up the thread because you're going to have to attach. This is all going to have to be screwed together after. So keep the resin as low down the screw thread as you possibly can. There we are. Nearly in. A little bit fiddly, bring it in there. Seems to be working now. Cool. That bit's in. I'm just going to try and work a bit more resin in. This resin's going off that quickly in the sunlight actually. It's I'm going to have to do some more straight after. There we go. So there's the lugs fitted in. What we'll go and do is just make sure they all go nicely into the car before I put on an extra bit. What I'm going to do is put some more resin on there just to build up these broken bits so they've got a nice lug. That was okay, pretty straightforward. Definitely worth drilling it out. The first time I did it on the other side I didn't bother drilling out the holes, I just tried to fit them in and there wasn't enough depth there for the stud to go in. Just be mindful. And like you say, if you do manage to salvage these parts from out of your existing lights, I wouldn't bother using them. They look like they're going to be great, but this part of the thread is so thick, as soon as you try and fit it in, it just shatters what's left. So just keep it simple with the studs. Okay, just before we start soldering in the chasing indicators to the wiring loom, I just wanted to show you this. This was the original indicator that came from the car. You'll still want, rear lights, you need to make sure you take this seal off. Okay, now I've already loosened this off, but be careful not to tear it when you take it off, and just try to take it off as whole as possible. Okay, you can buy these I think still, but obviously you want to try and reuse it if you can. I did find when I fitted it on the other side you did need to modify it slightly, cut some of it out, because obviously the new lights are a slightly different shape. Okay, now what you've got here in the wiring loom, the red wire to the bulb is your brake lights, the yellow is your indicators, the white I think is reversing, green is fog light, and the blue I think is the side lights. Not 100% certain now, I've disconnected this. What I would say is I've tested this now and I know the yellow is definitely the indicator, so I'm going to solder the chasing indicator into the yellow. I also know tested and I know that the red is the brake lights. But what I'd say before you start cutting, just make sure you're 100% happy that you've actually joining the right wires to the right wires. You don't want obviously your brake lights going on when it should be indicated and vice versa. Now what I've done, I'm just going to show you there, I've cut the cables already and I've started twisting the copper together just to make a bond. I'm then going to work in the indicator, the chasing indicators to this. Like I say, so just put it all together gently like that, work it in, and then I'm going to solder those together. Just a little bit of solder on, and then we'll go and test them on the car. There we go, we've got some solder on the there we go. It's not something I've done a lot of, if any, before now, to be honest. So I'm probably not the neatest at soldering. I thought it was a much better connection. Obviously you could just put a scotch clip into this and save cutting your cables. You could just scotch clip that red cable into that, but the one for the chasing indicators is such a thin cable. I felt I just wanted to make sure it was a good connection and decided solder was the best way forward. There we go, it's starting to fill in nicely now and connect well. I'll fill all that in, do it all. So hopefully you can see that coming together now. And I'll put a bit on this one, and there we go. Right, obviously I'll finish that off now and make sure there's some solder all the way around, and I'll put some sheathing on it, cover it all up with some tape so we've got a nice insulated section, and then that's ready to go back on the car. Right, the next stage is to reinstall the chasing indicators. Now these go from the wired end outwards, so you've got to make sure when you refit them that is on the inside of the lens, so it shows the directional flow of the indicator. Now the sticky back tape, I've just replaced it. I've got a bit of double-sided tape, just put a new strip down there just to make it a nice fit. Probably going to take me a minute or two to get the first layer off, as it always is. Now it's come off pretty easy. Okay, now I know that I want it starting just below that, because that's where it goes into the boot, and I just fit it as close to the edge as you can. There we go. I don't know if you can see that, hopefully you can see that, but just taking the sticky off, working it round as I go, keeping it right on the front edge so it's visible even when the boot's shut. Obviously you don't want this obscured by the boot lid. There you are, and those are all stuck back on. Simple as that. When that's all fitted in, that sits in tight, the boot comes down and sits on that area, and the indicator will chase from the inside out. Okay, so that's that. While I've got this all off like this as well, I'll just show you. Talked about this foam rubber earlier. This is one I salvaged from the previous light. Obviously, see, it just sort of fits in like that. But you see there's a bit of extra foam there that is just going to get in the way for this new style light. So just simply cut these bits off with a pair of scissors so they fit well, and fit right down onto the seal and create a nice seal when you put the lights back in. So these lights now are just about ready to go back in the car. I've done all the soldering, I've fitted the new chasing indicator, so I'm just going to trim down the seal, put the seal back on, test all the bulbs out, and then I'll fit it back. Right, well, I've had my first mishap on this project. The wiring looms that come with the second-hand lights, I didn't realise there's a left and a right hand side to them. I'm guessing the people who sent them me didn't. They probably got a box of bits and just put a couple in. As you can see on this plug here, the cables go white, blue, green, black, yellow, red. If we go over to the other side, they also go white, blue, green, and it's exactly the same, following through to yellow and red, which is all well and good. But when you look at the cables that go into them, I won't go through them all, but you can probably see, for example, the second from the left is blue and yellow. Well, the second from the left on this side is green and white. The blue and yellow is second from the right. So the whole plug is actually sided. Now, if you were able to just literally turn it round and plug it in together like that, everything would be perfect. But obviously these plugs are shaped so they can't go in the wrong way round. So I either need to contact the people who sold it me and ask them to send me a left-hand one, or what I'm probably more likely to do, I think now, because I don't want to wait 4 or 5 days, I'll cut these and rejoin each of these cables in the correct order so that they still plug in. That way I'm not touching the loom at all, so if I ever want to go back to the original lights, the loom will still be exactly correct. So it's just the wiring on this that needs to be adjusted. Really frustrated really, because I was already just put that back together, plugged it in, thought everything was going to work perfectly, and every light was wrong, because as I say, these things are actually a left and a right hand side. Never mind, probably a project for tomorrow now. So there we are, finished. I've got both lights in both sides now, just showing it with the hazard warning on, so you can see not only the Lexus style lights but the chasing indicators. They are also linked into brake lights as well. I'm on my own filming, but obviously put the brakes on and those turn red. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with the overall effect again. Not a lot of money to change the look of the rear of the car.